All right, welcome to another episode of the Investor Lounge podcast with Cap Fund. I'm your host, Alex Bogumil, owner and operator of Capital Fundings. Today, we are continuing with our series of wholesaler spotlights. We're hoping the wholesaler spotlight is going to give our borrowers an opportunity to be provided more quality deals and be more profitable in their business. In this episode, we're going to be discussing our wholesaler, his background, his experience, which is a lot more than just wholesaling, as you'll come to see. So joining me today is Jeff Joachim, who's been a real estate wholesaler in the Central Florida market since 2012. He's got some really big, ambitious plans. I think you're going to find them interesting. I know I have. So here we go. Jeff, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, it's good to have you. I appreciate you taking time. We just talked about what you got going on, and I'm sure you're a busy guy. So let's just jump right in. Tell everyone about yourself. It's a really interesting story, and it's been over a long period of time. So let us know kind of when and how did you get involved in real estate wholesaling and maybe flipping yourself as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, kind of like a lot of people, I read a lot of those investing books, the Rich Dad, Poor Dads, or what have you, right? And I was the guy that read a bunch of books and did nothing with it, right? So, one of the smartest dumb people, right?
Right.
Right, knowledge is only useful if you actually apply it, And so, at a certain point in time, I was like, you know what? These books say I need to get involved in real estate investing, and I had this obsession with building generational wealth, and so I was like, let me go ahead and get started in real estate by selling houses first, right? Because I was broke, had bad credit, and knew nobody in the business. And so I was like, you know what? If I become a realtor, then realtors know all about finding investment properties, right? And so I started in 2010, got my real estate license, which was right after the crash. And so, I wound up working for a real estate brokerage, and I quickly learned that most realtors don't know anything about like working with investors. They actually run in the other direction.
Correct.
Yeah. Like their goal is to be in the nice open house, baking cookies, like inviting people in. And investors, we like the ugly houses. We like the houses that are boarded up. We like the spray paint, the smell of mold. You're like, it smells like an investment property. So I wound up, teaming up with a company after I just Googled investment properties Orlando, and there was a wholesale operation here that was basically doing a lot of on-market wholesaling. And this was around 2012, where there's a ton of institutional activity going on, right? You had your egg groups.
Just starting to happen, right? It's just getting exposed to institutions now.
100%, right? So you had like your Blackstones in town, you had a bunch of funds that were buying and such. And I walked into a small team of like elite wholesalers that, I mean, these guys were doing like, 50 deals a month. You may be familiar with them actually, Alex, but
You can say the company, it's fine. I mean, it was a fun time back then.
for sure. So shout out to, Altura Investment Realty. They gave me my start. Really I think of Ron Richards as a mentor, as well as, Steve as well. They took a kid who knew nothing about, real estate investing and had me drinking out of a fire hose pretty quickly. So, I kind of cut my teeth in that business. I'd say I was waiting tables at night, just trying to work it out, at Outback Steakhouse. During the daytime, I was getting a crash course on working with investors. And so within a month or so, my first client was actually a hedge fund based out of Utah. And so went from not doing any deals to doing about 10 that month with them. We went on to do about 90 something deals within my first year in the business. And so,
Struck gold. You landed a hedge fund. That was like the big thing back then. I mean, I know, I was wholesaling at the same time for Home Pro, and we were like arch enemies, Altura, who are two of my best friends, and us, Home Pro. And it was like, like we talked about before, it's the battle of the signs. If you see an Altura sign, make sure it's gone. And our Home Pro signs disappeared. And it was just like turf wars for the wholesaling in Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah, they were fun times. I mean, we definitely got into our sign battles. We called it Operation Ninja, where we'd get
Dude, I knew you guys were doing it. We didn't do it much, I'm telling you. I know it
yeah.
was you guys because we went over to your office on Lee Road one day, and I think
Okay.
it was me and our broker, Mark, and drove into the parking lot on the other side next door, went through the fence and saw your dumpster, and we saw like 100 of our signs in your dumpster. We're like, "These motherfuckers," you know?
Yeah.
And of course, Ron and Steve, who, like I said, I grew up with these guys. They were like, "No, we're not stealing any signs. That's not us." I'm like, "All right, well, here's a picture of it, but whatever."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I never partook in the stealing, but I may have, borrowed a couple and used the other side, to make daddy signs.
There
Um, so yeah, I mean, but that was the time, it was, there were a lot of deals that were going on. There's a lot of institutional activity. There was a lot of great deals to be had. And Florida has always been one of the top places to invest. I mean, yeah, from then to this day. So kind of where I cut my teeth was working with that group. I went on to eventually start my own company in 2015. Which we focused on doing a couple different things, buying houses on the auction for investors. And me being a licensed real estate broker, also did some owner occupant stuff as well as continuing to wholesale. Um, so flash forward, we get a couple of different mergers and acquisitions where we've merged with some of the groups in town. And we wound up scaling up to about 3 offices, a team of 50 plus people. And we're covering pretty much the surrounding from Gainesville to Tampa, Central Florida, pretty much the surrounding 12 or 14 counties. We're doing deals, and we've done over 2,000 deals on the wholesale front during that time frame. So that's kind of how I got started.
Now
And we did,
this is all wholesale at this point, right?
yeah. So like we put
When you're scaled up to hitting all the counties, you're primarily wholesaling, not all, but primarily wholesaling, right?
so at one point we were doing about 50-50 on wholesaling, and we also started an owner occupant side of the business, right?
Sure.
Because
Might as
what
well.
we're finding is that, okay, investors now buy a flit from you, right? And why don't we just help them list it, give them a discount on listing those properties? And now that's a different kind of specialty, right? We rather have an in-house listing agent that can really focus
Yeah.
all day long.
Different than a wholesaler.
Correct. Driving top dollar for you. And so now that kind of started the foundation of a traditional real estate brokerage. And so, you do an open house at this property, a lot of buyers are going to come in and say, "Hey, can you help me find a property?" And it's a full blown thing. So that kind of mushroomed into what wound up becoming a merger and acquisition with a national franchise. And we wound up having a full blown traditional owner occupant side of things to go along with our wholesale operation, and a couple other businesses to support in that vertical, essentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay. And so you did that through, covering all this ground, which is a lot. I've never gone really outside of Central Florida. So you did that until when?
yeah. So, and to clarify, we've done deals in Central Florida, we've done deals in Ohio, Michigan, as well as Alabama.
Mhm.
So we've touched a couple different states, and we've continued doing this until I'd say 2022, the end of 2022, going into 2023. Um, where I was going heavily on mostly the wholesaling model.
So I know 2023, you told me you kind of stepped away to handle some personal stuff with your family for a little while. And now you're getting back into the game, but it's not your traditional wholesale outfit that most people are accustomed to, which has kind of evolved really to maybe like one person just covering a lot of territory. So now, the name of your company that you're working with now is Dynasty Real Estate Advisors, correct?
Yes, Dynasty Real Estate Advisors, powered by or brokered by LPT Realty.
Okay. And so LPT is, you said, the fastest growing real estate brokerage in the United States.
In the history of the country, so they're actually outpacing. Yes, according to historians. So they're actually outpacing the growth of like EXP Realty,
Yeah.
and they're massively scaling. Right now.
Okay. So you're taking all your experience wholesaling through all these years, and you've told me that you guys were like doing a ton of auction stuff, and it actually paralleled what I did a lot too. So it was really cool to hear you tell me all that information. But so now, present day Dynasty Real Estate Advisors. So tell everyone a little bit about kind of your business model and how it's a little bit different than a traditional wholesaler outfit.
Absolutely. I think the number one question that entrepreneurs ask themselves is, are we doing things this way because it's the way it's always been done, or is it truly the best way to conduct this business, right? And so through that path, as I was thinking about, how we're going to restructure moving forward, I realized that a lot of times there'll be, you know, a wholesale spread that's getting in the way of us bringing more deals to our investors. There's also a scalability issue that you can have if you're just doing a traditional wholesale model. And I also believe that it doesn't. I guess there's a bit of like a blue ocean where I felt like there was an opportunity to where investors could play a part with realtors, and it actually could work in harmony. I think wholesalers exist because there's a lack of expertise with the traditional with traditional realtors to be able to help you build and scale a portfolio. But I think that we can create a model where we have a series of investor agents, right? That actually have some expertise, have some traditional real estate training, and don't can save the investors some funds on these massive assignment fees or things that might be deal killers otherwise, and still provide a solution to sellers that makes them happy as well. And so what we're doing with Dynasty Real Estate Advisors is this: um, we have a team of agents that basically go out there, they're meeting with homeowners, and they're saying, hey, you know what? Especially distressed homeowners is what we work with. And we're basically saying, look, we have a network of over 2,000 cash buyers, that are looking to go ahead and buy some properties. These guys are getting called all day long by other wholesalers that are basically saying, hey, here's a cash offer. And it's a bit of a blur. You're never the first one in because we're all building the same list,
And
or
one thing I could add when this is happening, is kind of like the evolution of wholesaling, is that they are getting so many offers that's kind of pushing prices up, and then the wholesaler adds their fees. And sometimes, unless you're finding a good wholesaler, you're getting these skinny deals as an investor, where everyone's made money all the way up the food chain, and then you're putting in the work on the renovation, and there's not as much profit left in there for you. So,
100%.
that's kind of, something to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, and wholesaling is a cuss word depending on what investor you ask.
Right.
You know?
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind, right? Overinflated comps, underestimated rehab budgets, and they have the mindset that this guy's making a 20 grand spread on this thing, and I'm left holding the bag. Is what a bad experience can be for them. But wholesalers are really just deal providers, right? Where people that source deals, and a lot of people, they mean well, right? They may be paid for a seminar, and they didn't get the full experience that they needed. And so, yeah, they're trying to crush it on one deal and make back their $20,000 investment they made on that course, and they don't know any. They mean well, but the guru told them on the commercial that they can make 75K per wholesale deal, and so they're just doing what they're taught. So our goal was to kind of standardize thing, create a little bit more of a consistent experience. At least if you're dealing with a realtor, they've been trained on how to pull comps, they've been trained on how to analyze properties, they've been trained on how to basically put together a full scope of rehab that partners well not only for the investors but also we know how to speak the language of the hard money lender that's going to be going ahead and funding these deals, right? So, and you and I have had a great working relationship to where we can package up these deals. It makes sense for what you guys can feel comfortable lending on, and they'll have that added layer of protection knowing that they're good. But flash forward to our model here. Essentially, what we do is now we represent folks as realtors. We just charge a standard commission, but we bring you exclusive off-market properties through a portal where you can just bid on it and put cash offers on these properties, or there'll be a reserve kind of buy it now price for you to buy these off-market properties before they hit the MLS, should it not work for our investor network. And any kind of expertise you need to analyze and assist in your due diligence, we're there to do that in a brokerage and real estate capacity.
So if you make the bid, if I'm an investor coming in, I
Yeah.
see this property, I like it, I'm making a bid. Is it Dynasty Real Estate Advisors that are going to present that to the borrower or to the seller? Or is that when LPT gets involved? Maybe you can just walk through kind of the process of me, your everyday investor, making an offer through your platform?
Okay. So, um, LPT Real Estate is basically LPT Realty, pardon me, is the real estate brokerage. It's an umbrella. And so nowadays, people don't buy franchises anymore, right? You don't buy a Century 21 franchise. Oh, you can, but um, people move to this model where you go to this brokerage and you partner with them and you can run a business within a business. So
Okay.
you're seeing a lot of brokers, correct. You're seeing a lot of brokers that are shutting down their companies, so they'll have, Main Street Realty, whatever it may be, right? And then they're moving over to LPT and brokerages like EXP LPT, right? Where they can just move their entire company in there. They can share in some of the costs. They can now have a national presence, right? And so they still get to keep the same kind of independence of running their own company within this brokerage. And so with that, not all LPT teams are the same. We happen to be one of the only ones that are actually specializing in dealing with investments. And so we have Dynasty Real Estate Advisors that sits underneath that umbrella. So it's a team, it's a full operation and a company within a company. So we're entrepreneurs is the best term I could think of, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So with that being said, how does it work? So the home sellers are reaching out to them on behalf of LPT and Dynasty. And we're basically telling them, look, instead of you getting just one offer, these one-offs, let's put your property in front of a group of investors that we're going to minimize the disruption to your house. So there's not going to be a ton of showings. Most of these investors are savvy where if we give them enough details and pictures, they can buy sight unseen, or they'll be in and out within 15, a couple of minutes, right? They can get these cash offers going. And it works for them because they get to see what the cash value is of their property. It works for the investors because they're getting exclusive opportunities to see some properties that they're otherwise, and at prices that are pretty transparent. So you know what we're making on it because as real estate, agents, we have to disclose our commissions and our fees. And if you're getting a property that we think is going to make sense in the price point for them. So,
Isn't there a bidding period? Is it work that way? Like this house is open up for bids for the next week or something?
correct. So it depends on what the seller would like to do. So we'll run it for 30 days. But it depends on what they like to do. Most of the time it's going to be 7 to 14 days essentially to kind of
Yeah.
give,
Let's figure it out and move on.
yeah. So, but there'll always be like a reserve, like a basically like a buy it now
Final
price.
price. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that may make sense for certain investors buy box.
So
So
go ahead. No, go ahead.
So the experience on the investor side, right, is basically you do it with somebody from our investor relations team. They basically get to know what kind of properties you're looking for, right? So we'll learn your buy box. What's your budget? Are we funding with cash? Are we using leverage? And then we'll go out and be mindful as we're sourcing these off-market properties to get things that kind of fit your buy box in your area, so we can continuously start feeding things into the marketplace that makes sense for what you're looking to buy. We also will be talking with them, and whenever we are presenting a deal to them, we're going to break down what it looks like with leverage. We're going to help you show you our calculations, how we arrived at our numbers. But of course, that's just a supplement to your diligence that you need to be doing on your own as an investor. But we want to package it up as soon as possible and make it easy for them.
And now you're leveraging LPT with the scale of them because they're national, right?
Yeah, they're currently in 24 states at this time. They'll be at like 30 something by the end of this year.
Okay.
And so we will have boots on the ground in, about 24 states pretty soon here. So,
So you're
um,
yeah, so you're going to be offering investment properties in all of those states.
correct.
No.
And in that marketplace, investors will be able to see, hey, you know what? Um, or Central Florida deals look great, but maybe I want to look at Wisconsin next or something. So you'll be able to show them that. But I think they'll love. There's so many good deals in our backyard that I think there'll be plenty. Here.
So you think you'll still have a maybe a primary focus in Central Florida just because you're here, or do you think it should be kind of evenly dispersed throughout all the states that you're servicing? Or uh,
So a majority of those 2,000 plus investors we have are right here in Central Florida. So that is our core that we're going to take care of and feed. So we're doing about 20 to 30 properties a month. We're going to be putting out for them. Um, and then this expansion is for other people. We have some national investors that buy in other places.
okay, maybe some funds or something like that. No.
Correct. Yeah, we've got a couple different, REITs that are buying from us. So we're opening the door with them, and we'll have other local investors that will give them some competition in the marketplace as well. So
Cool.
yeah,
Wow, that's like, yeah, a totally different business model than just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna send out some letters and let it go." So from the investor experience, they're gonna have that initial kinda onboarding call with you so you guys can get familiar with them. Then they're gonna log into a portal. Are you gonna, like, because 'cause you're dealing in all these states, if you call me and I say, "I'm interested in Georgia, Jeff," and if you get a Georgia property, are you guys, like, eh technology-wise smart enough to send that Georgia property out just to me, or does it go to everybody? Or, like, if you're adding a new property to your network for sale, does that, like, hit everybody, or is that, like, specific to the areas that your individual investors interested in?
yeah. So the whole point of even having this conversation, and I'm glad you asked that question. Normally in my wholesaling days, right? Somebody would be like, "Hey, add me to your list," and then some guy just throws you on the list,
Yeah.
and he's just you a bunch of junk that becomes white noise at a certain period of time, right?
Right, it can't you just stop, "I don't wanna see any more Miami stuff, I'm not interested," like, and then you just, kinda delete them eventually,
Yeah.
unsubscribe.
Correct. And so that's the reason why. And I subscribe to taking care of the 20% about the masses. I want 4 quarters, not 100 pennies, right? I want actual investors that we have a great relationship with, right? And we know what they're looking for. So that way we're not spamming them, we're sending them what they want. So yes, we will have our list segmented. We will be able to go ahead and push out what you need. But if you just want everything and you want a free for all, we can do that as well.
Okay, so
So
we kinda opt into what you want.
yeah,
Cool. Alright, so, I mean, it sounds amazing. It's definitely a different view, which I would expect coming from you because you haven't followed the traditional, "I'm just a wholesaler" path. So that's awesome. Congratulations. When do you I know, we've been talking a lot recently, but when do you foresee, your portal being on board online and ready to go and start working with, some of maybe capital funding borrowers or Central Florida investors?
for sure. So right now we're live with a few of our close investors where we're running this program consistently. We'll be expanding to the masses. Stuff is breaking consistently. So we're doing a bit of beta testing with it.
Sure.
But I'd say within the next uh, 2 weeks or so, your borrower is always welcome. First of all, Alex, you already know that.
Alright, that works.
We will allow them to buy 1 to 10 properties from us if they would like, and it is. But
10.
um,
I got a lot that are looks for 10.
Yeah, good, good. So, but we'll be live within the next 30 days. So, by the time you're watching this, the portal will be open. You can visit us at dynastyinvestments.com.
Yeah, we'll get all that, and we're gonna put that, at the bottom of all of this, whatever social media this goes out to. We'll have all your contact information there. So I gave you a list, and after talking with you, like you're kind of like totally different than the regular standard wholesaler questions. So anything else that you just want to point out, like your company? I mean, personally, I see things that stick out to me. You're a realtor. You've got a ton of experience, and for those of you guys that weren't in the game at 2012, it was insane. It was like so crazy. It was foreclosures. It was short sales, and I know Altura and Jeff were at kind of the forefront of figuring out how to buy these things, which was really really cool. But there was just the auction properties. There was so much going on and so much volume. It was an insane time. Now prices were totally different than they are today, but it was really, really insane. It kinda brings me back to my wholesaling days, dropping signs and hopping over fences and checking out vacant properties and assigning values to them and stuff like that, and then buying them at the auctions. So, kind of a cool flashback, but, anything else that you kinda wanna point out to our listeners about Dynasty Real Estate Advisors and why you think that, this is gonna be maybe the future or just a really, really good alternative or additional opportunity for borrowers to find properties at?
For sure. I think the reason why I was in this niche and the reason why people continue to do this is because I feel like there's a missing uh, group of people that aren't catering to the investors, right? And I'd like to standardize and bring a little bit more professionalism to it. You shouldn't think of invest as realtors as people who get in the way of deals, but people who actually are deal makers. And so there's a ton of options for you if you're looking to go multifamily, right? There's super sharp multifamily guys, but if I asked you, tell me the top real estate brokerage for real estate investors, nothing comes to mind. And so Dynasty, we're looking to be those people that you're going to give you a different experience and you should feel like you're dealing with a financial advisor versus dealing with your traditional realtor with us. Beyond that,
That much expertise.
correct. Beyond that, what is really important to me is purpose, right? I don't get into this business to see how much money I can make. It's to see how many people we can help build generational wealth. And so at the center of all this is how can we help the investors grow? You should be able to come to us and say, hey, look, I've got 100 grand. This is my plan. I want to grow this to, a passive income of, 20K a month, 5K a month, whatever that number is. And we should be able to build a path for you to get there by sitting with an investment advisor at Dynasty Real Estate Advisors, right? And beyond that, my next step of this is I'd love to be saying a year from now that my investment business funds the charities and the nonprofits that we're in. Not only are we going into neighborhoods and revitalizing them, by moving some of these properties, but we're reinvesting in some of these communities because real estate is a central point of why I got into this business. I moved here to Florida from New York because my house got foreclosed on. And so I understand not having a home means a lot of different things to you, right? And so I'd love to be doing things with our nonprofit, like, take a family prior to Thanksgiving that's about to get evicted and just pay off their eviction for them and let them stay in their house. So there's a lot of cool ideas that we've been doing on a smaller scale.
It's very similar for you.
100%. So, that's about it, I'd say.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm pulling for you, and I know based on your past, I think Dynasty, this concept it'll be a success. So I'm super excited for you. I can't wait to check out the portal myself and see what's out there and see kind of how it all flows, and maybe who knows, maybe I'll jump back into renovating houses myself and buy a property off you. So, all right, well, I appreciate it. Let me just kind of wrap this up. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. We really appreciate the exposure. And thank you, Jeff, with Dynasty Real Estate Advisors, for joining us today. So, Jeff, where can our listeners find you online?
100%. So you can visit us at dynastyinvestments.com. And, we can kind of take it from there. So that's it.
All right, cool. Well, like I said earlier, we're going to post all that stuff for you guys, so you have a way to find out and reach Jeff. All right, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Investor Lounge podcast.